Hello everyone, Perseus7 here, back with more Bloons Tower Defense 6. This week of bloonarius, instead of super buffing a tower, engineer, farm, and engineer, spike factory, and village were all banned this week, so can't really do that. So I decided to go for what I did for Lich, and decided to do artillery battery spam. That's why I brought Striker Jones instead of Ben. Plus, I don't really think Ben really matters too much here, as the increased the starting cash you get is a lot better, just kind of for me, as since I'm going farms, and farms are not as efficient as Ben income is. So I guess it doesn't really matter too much if I brought Ben. Plus this is normal Bloonarius anyway, so it's not too difficult. That being said, because I am doing artillery battery and most mortar spam in general, it does take forever to actually do. I swear, any strategy that revolves around mortar just takes forever, except for like Bloonson and biggest one. It's mainly just middle path that takes just kind of forever to actually do. I kind of understand why, popping on isn't really used too much in, chimps runs. Yeah, some people have used it, and some people have been, being like geared and being chimps with popping on, but oh my god, does it take forever to actually, fully kind of utilize, popping on, having to stall and all that. Popping on in general, I do think needs maybe just kind of like a minor buff, so that way it just every round doesn't take forever to actually do. They've shown a lot of love to biggest one when I didn't really feel like, biggest one was pretty fine where it was. It didn't really feel like it needed a buff of any kind, and they just kind of left popping on just kind of in the dust. It's a very underused tower, and it is pretty decent, but I can understand why it's not used too much. Anyways, I guess that's kind of enough of this, so let's go over to tier 1. So for tier 1, I figured that maybe only like 2 artillery batteries would be enough to actually take down first tier Bloonarius. Get a shell shock in the back just in case any ceramics leak there, as well as just to pop the guess spawn balloon set, or the balloons that Bloonarius spawns. And so because the I guess semi new bombardment buff that artillery battery has, it's actually pretty good actually. I got a third one, just to make this a little bit faster. Believe it or not, this whole like recording session took 44 minutes to actually do that. I think this is probably the longest it's actually taken to actually beat which is kind of Bloonarius in general. Usually most towers are able to beat it in like 40 something minutes. I think Churchill was about the same length, but that's to be understandable, as heroes for Bloonarius aren't kind of the best. And believe it or not, 3 artillery batteries is actually doing fairly well against, the first tier of Bloonarius. It's already gotten down to the first skull, and it's making its way towards the second one before the second crater. So my goal for this map was kind of just, in this week Bloonarius, was fairly simple, I want to do at least 1 skull per crater, because, that would give me, that's a pretty good pace to set, if I'm being honest. 1 skull per crater. That means I'm doing enough damage. If not, then I'm probably still not going to be able to do enough damage for that. I was so confident in how well artillery batteries were doing that I even decided to farm while Bloonarius was still here. Usually for most other towers I'm not really able to farm, as I had to put all money towards actually for like decent defense and support. So I guess there's that. I guess the only downside to doing, kind of mortars spam is that, having to retarget everything. I am surprised that there isn't like a monkey knowledge that auto targets mortars, but I can probably understand why that's not really done. I guess it would be kind of similar to Wing Monkey for Ace. Ultimately, it is kind of for the people who don't want to micro their Ace, but it probably would be a lot worse than, actually targeting your mortar manually. Which, taking Bloonarius down by the second creator is pretty impressive. I was impressed by how well artillery batteries did. So for tier 2 I decided to get Bloonson, as I didn't really feel like constantly retargeting all my artillery batteries. I was gonna have to eventually spam in order to actually be able to beat tier 2. So I figured just going the easy way would just get Bloonson, as Bloonson is the best mob damage that mortar has to offer. And I feel like Bloonson didn't really do a whole lot. If you look at the DPS, it really isn't, kind of a lot. I think that's just because Bloonarius doesn't seem to be affected by the debuff that, Bloonson gives, the fire DOT that Bloonson has. I don't think Bloonarius gets affected by that. If he does get affected by that, it's not a visual thing, as I guess that was kind of Bloonson's main kind kind of main like DPS option, as the main mortar attack only does 5 layers of damage. I'm pretty sure, so it's not a whole lot. I think Bloons TD does shine. Um, like the main strength of Bloons TD is definitely the wall of fire that it gives. Plus, it'd also be a pretty good decamo option, as maybe Signal Flare won't catch all the camos. So Bloons TD is just also to make sure that I'm not dying to camos. But with Bloons TD, I am like kind of on the similar pace. I'm actually on a faster pace than it was on tier 1. Bloons TD actually was allowed me to get the second skull by the first crater, which is pretty nice. Yes, if Bloons TD's fire did work, it definitely would be a whole lot faster. Now Bloons TD did pretty good against the natural AI waves that spawn. If you saw 63 there, got straight up deleted. 62, you know, 64 and all that, straight up just deleted. Didn't even exist. Bloons TD does do some pretty decent SRAM damage. But anyways, the third skull Bloonarius spawn, so I just get artillery battery in the back in order to catch all the ceramics. Unfortunately, I'm here. I think that artillery battery actually hit the pierce cap, so I guess it couldn't catch everything. So it's kind of weird seeing mortars be pierce cap, as it seems like a tower that had infinite pierce, but I can understand why it doesn't. So thankfully, Bloonarius did not save to where I was about to die, so I was able to just drop, you know, Bloons TD's wall of fire in the back, and I feel like that would be more than enough in order to actually be able to catch all the leaks. So thankfully, you know, thank God for the Bloons TD wall of fire buff. Fun fact, if you didn't know, when Bloons TD first came out, it was garbage. It didn't even have the wall of fire that Bloons TD spawns, so it is kind of nice that that was a buff that we eventually got. Imagine Bloons TD without the wall of fire. Ooh boy, you can see how Bloons TD was a bit before. So it was kind of a nice buff. I also do have to give props to NK for, you know, buffing Bloons TD in kind of a creative way. Giving Bloons TD wall of fire was kind of, I guess you can, obviously it wasn't necessary. They could have just upped damage and that was kind of it. And it's kind of nice that, you know, NK does come up with, you know, creative and interesting way to buff towers instead of, you know, just kind of straight up buffing damage. Of course they do that before with a lot of other towers, but, you know, just kind of how in general, like, you know, with Spear of the not Spirit of the Forest, but, you know, just kind of middle path Druid, having, you know, the brambles that spawn whenever it does that vine crushing attack. You know, that was a creative way to buff the tower. Right, so for this tier of Bloonarius, I spammed a ton of artillery batteries along with Blue Incineration. I actually even sold everything except for Marketplace, or not Marketplace, Monkey Wall Street, in order to actually be able to afford everything I have on the screen currently. And again, you know, it seemed to be doing some pretty good damage throughout all the tiers. You know, all tiers so far have been similar speed. Tier 3 is going to be a little slower, as I believe that, in my opinion, Tier 3 of just kind of Bloonarius in general, especially Elite Bloonarius, Tier 3 is definitely the hardest tier of Bloonarius. And so Striker Jones' ability is coming in handy, as I am able to reset all the cooldowns. Jones is not level 20 yet, so he doesn't give double damage and pierce to all mortars yet, but he will eventually. I'm pretty sure I do get level 20 in this tier, since, you know, it's kind of a bunch of extra money, and here it is right now, level 20 Jones. So next time you use the ability, double damage and pierce for all mortars. And so you can see here the I guess this kind of the carnage that Jones's ability will end up doing. Although, in my opinion, I don't really feel like it increased the DPS by that much. It is noticeable, but I don't feel like it was that noticeable. I felt like, you know, kind of double damage would do a lot more than that, but as I say, it's whatever. I'm pretty sure, like, all these towers, I'm pretty sure Artillery Battery only does, like, what, 2 damage per shot, not including the extra damage it gets to lead balloons, ceramics, and I'm pretty sure it also gets damage to black balloons as well. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, base artillery battery only does 2 damage, so it should be from 2 to 4. So it's kind of weird that it didn't do a massive increase in DPS. Now Bloonarius is starting to exit the first crater, so now I have to go through the task of manually retargeting every mortar to actually get into the crater. It isn't actually as bad now as it does get in later tiers when you have a screen full of just artillery batteries. It's kind of hard to keep track of actually which mortars are retargeted into the correct crater. As you know, you can kind of tell by, you know, which way it faces, but sometimes it's kind of difficult to tell, like when artillery batteries are facing a different way. It's kind of unfortunate there's no water on this map because Energizer would have helped greatly here. And it's kind of a shame that they did choose moon landing, but if you don't know, Aplex Plasmaster would be is absolutely insane on moon landing when it shoots into the crater. I guess Ultra Juggernaut would also be pretty decent, but it's not, I guess, just kind of the best. If you saw anything about Encrypted, Ultra Juggernaut and Aplex Plasmaster do definitely excel here. It is nice that they are choosing maps to where certain towers kind of excel kind of over others, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, skipping forward quite a lot, as there wasn't really much happening within, I guess, just kind of the second creator of Bloonarius. Pretty much same thing, just using the abilities whenever they come up, and Bloonarius ends up going down. Alright, so tier 5 of Bloonarius got all tier 5 mortars here, yes, including Papanaw. I figured that DTs might be pretty scary, so I decided to get Papanaw as a just kind of a panic button, just in case some DTs just were a little bit too fast. I even got Permabrew. I'm Chinooking around. Unfortunately, I didn't leave much space for Permabrew, so you won't really be Permabrewing most of the towers. So it was kind of a mistake on my part, but just because the sheer amount of abilities I have, and probably because the amount of calculations the game doing, I'm actually noticing a visible amount of lag. Not as bad as going, deep in free play, but I guess it's manageable. So the damage here is seeming pretty good. As long as I just get one skull per crater, that's ideal and perfect. Couldn't ask for anything else. So this is pretty much it. Same thing for, I guess, just most of the tiers, except it's kind of Chinooking Permabrew all around the map. Just kind of in a decent spot, so we can actually Permabrew most of the towers. So in fact, my fingers started hurting by this point in the run because it was kind of spamming the ability was kind of reminded me a lot of just kind of the Moab Assassin. I was still kind of surprised that Moab Assassin wasn't able to actually beat Lich, seeing as having 100 and them doing what 700 damage per ability use. It was kind of surprising at that. So the only thing that was kind of scary here was just kind of the natural DTs as well as the ZOMGs that Bloonarius spawn. I did have to target Papanaw yet again. Well, not yet again. I did have to target Papanaw at first in order to actually pop the ZOMGs. I forgot that Papanaw ability is just, oh my god, that was kind of disappointing. Even with Permabrew and I guess the Striker Jones, it was still kind of disappointing that Papanaw couldn't even take down an entire ZOMGs by itself. I guess it did do some decent damage to it as well as popping, but I'm also sure that Artillery Battery did help out with that as well. So it is kind of slightly disappointing. Papanaw, I just know I'm still ranking out, but I do want Papanaw to be good. But unfortunately at the moment it is just kind of meh. Anyways, in the back, as you can see, I'm almost dying due to the fact that I'm not actually targeting my mortars back there. Biggest one was able to clean up. I'm pretty sure that it was getting pierce capped at the one moment there, so I think that was kind of the reason why I wasn't cleaning up as well as it really should have. Also, this is 520 biggest one, which isn't as good against mobs as 502. If you don't know, biggest one basically now, if you want SRAM damage, you go 520. If you want mob damage, you get 502. So that's just biggest one how it is now. And I think that's fairly healthy and pretty good for a tower. Having a cross path that kind of affect what you want to use a tower for is what I feel like all cross paths should be. Fortunately, not all cross paths are created equal, and some of them are just kind of basically a requirement and just so much better than kind of ulterior cross path. So fast forwarding yet again, back with the last crater. Now this was really worrying as we weren't at the last skull and we were in the third crater, so that is a bit of a concern. And it's kind of, we're a bit far away from the last skull anyway, so it was well, that's not like terribly far away, but we still were a ways away from the actual last skull, so it was a bit worrying. Not sure if it was actually going to be able to beat this tier. Be kind of disappointing. It would also mean that I didn't really farm hard enough. I could have dropped more artillery batteries, during the run, but again, I was too busy trying to actually retarget all my mortars and all that. You can even see like there are still some mortars that are targeting the second crater, even though we should be targeting third, but I didn't really feel like meticulously going through and making sure that all mortars were targeting the right things. Here I even figured had some downtime that I was able to actually be able to target my not target my mortars, use the place more mortars. Alright, so here I got a little overconfident, as you probably tell by the video length. I ended up dying here, surprise, surprise. I'm pretty sure you can beat this tier. I just didn't really want to go back, as it took forever just to get up to tier 4, and I'm not even sure if tier 5 is actually possible. I didn't really hit the pause button in time, so that's kind of my mistake.